Hello and welcome to today's video. Vinci Resolve. It is a great, intuitive piece of editing software. The real strength of Vinci Resolve is that it is actually a fully fledged professional editor at a free cost. Now, there is a paid version of it, but for most people, the free version is enough to get them by. The other great thing about Vinci Resolve is that the workflow can be as complicated and as advanced as you make it, or as simple as you make it. It's really up to you. Today, in this video, I'm going to run you through how you can edit your video in Vinci Resolve as quickly and as simply as possible, even if you've had little to none experience in editing before. When you first open Resolve, you're going to be faced with the project selection screen. In this screen, we can select the projects we're working on and create a new project. So to get going and start your project, all you have to do is go click the new project button. Here we can give it a name. Once we've named it, we just click create and then our project will open up. Now, notice the layout. At the bottom of the window, we can see that Resolve is divided into 7 pages. But for the sake of simplicity, there are only 3 of these pages that we really need to focus our attention to. And these 3 are the media page, the edit page, and the deliver page. Firstly, let's start by going over to the media page. You'll notice at the bottom center here, we have this little gray area called the media pool. Any video file that you bring into this media pool are ones that we can use in our editing later on. It is as simple as dragging and dropping your footage into that pool, or you can use the navigation up here to locate your footage to bring in. So I have my clip here that I want to use. I just select it, and then I drag it down into the media pool. Now here it's going to prompt me to change a few settings based on that clip I'm bringing in. This is a good thing, so I'm just going to click change, and then they'll update my project settings to match what I just brought into it. Once this process is complete, we can actually get to editing our footage. So let's go to the edit page. And you'll see that up here on the top left, that is where our media pool is now located. From there, we just select the shot we want and drag it down to this space down here, which is called the timeline. And you can see my clip just appears here in this timeline. You will notice that the timeline is actually divided into 2 vertically. So above we have the video and below the audio. Horizontally, far left is the 0 point. This is the beginning of your video. And then moving right as we go along here, this is further along that clip we just brought in. You can zoom in and out of the timeline by using this little slider here to show you more or less of your clip. All the basic edits are done here in the timeline. So if I want to play my video, all I have to do is go ahead and click the space bar on the keyboard. And then I click the space bar again to stop that video. Now let's say I want to play from a different point. All I have to do is click up here on this ruler and it'll take me to a different point on the same clip later on. And I can just click the spacebar again, and it will actually play from that new position that the playhead is located at. Now, say we want to cut off the beginning part. So there's this part here where the subject is taking a while to get ready before actually getting into it. So let's say I want to cut that out. All I have to do is, if I just zoom in here, I find the point with the playhead locator where I want it to start. So around about here. Then I move my mouse over to the beginning of the clip, and you'll see that the cursor there just actually changes. And then all I have to do is click, and I drag that across to match where the locator is. Now let's say I want to cut out a bit of unnecessary footage from the middle of a clip. It's pretty simple, but it takes a few extra steps. So what we do is we go up and hit the blade tool up here. We can also do that by clicking B on the keyboard. And then we go to the place where we want to make those cuts. So let's say I want to remove this little bit in here. I'll make I click there, and I'll make one cut on one side. Then I go and make a cut on the other side. Now I return back to the normal selection mode. Then I go into the middle of the footage and I click delete. Now you'll notice still it has left this space here between them. I could just select this end of the clip and then drag it into place, But a much easier way is to click delete while holding shift, and that will automatically return the end bit of the footage back up in line with everything else, so you don't have any unnecessary gaps in your film. If your audio volume needs to be adjusted, there are actually two ways of doing this. Firstly, I can hover over in this audio line here, this thin white strip across here. I just click that and I can drag down or up depending on where I want to go. The second way is selecting it, the audio here, and going to this inspector tab at the top. This inspector panel will provide more detailed controls for whatever clip I have selected. So I can just change the volume here more precisely and input actual numbers if I want. Inserting text or other effects to your clip is also pretty straightforward in Resolve. So we go over to this effects panel over here, and you can see there are different options such as transitions, titles, and effects. Now I want a title at the beginning of my clip, so I can click this text thing here and I just drag that into the place I want in the timeline. So I want to start the beginning, so I'm just going to move this stuff back a bit, and then I'm going to put this text right into place at the beginning. Once I have my text in place, all I need to do with it selected is go to the inspector again, and then I can edit what I want to say in my title. I can also edit the font and the color, and there are many other options here for you to have a look at. Now, another really helpful feature in Resolve is that it makes it pretty simple to put in audio fades and also video fades. So if you notice here, when I bring my cursor to the top, it'll have this little white marker there. And if I pull that, it'll actually put a fade over the duration of that line there. So you can see that now when I play, the video fades in. I can also do this to the audio to make it more smooth. So now both of these, they'll fade in and it'll be a bit more gradual and less sudden. The third and final step in the editing process is actually exporting your footage, getting it into one file that you can send out and be done with. So we head over to now the last page, and this is called the delivery page. Now, you'll see these white markers here. This means that anything inside this boundary here is what's actually going to be exported to the final file. So what I'll do is I'll drag it back here and ensure that it starts at the start and actually ends at the end. We can now go ahead and give our film a name. And then we can also browse a location where we want it to be exported. So I just want mine to go to the desktop there. For most users, we want to change the format to be MP4. Now it depends where you're going with this, but that's usually what you want to export it as. Now normally all these other settings here, they should be left as is, but if you actually find your exported file is a little bit too large, a bit too big, you can change a few things. So what you can do is you can go to the encoding profile here, make it to base, and that'll just make it a bit more compressed, not as high quality. We can also go to the resolution and change it down to 720p instead of 1080. Once we have finished with our settings, all we have to do is hit add to render queue, and you can see over here with it selected, we have this project in the render queue. To start it rendering, just click start render, and DaVinci will start exporting your footage. Now all you have to do is to wait for it to finish rendering. Alright, now that is how we edit a video in DaVinci Resolve. I really hope this tutorial has helped everyone out there, and if you do have any more questions, feel free to just leave a comment, get in touch, and I'll be happy to help out. Good luck and happy editing. Until next time.